Ghostface is back. Again. But this time he's going after his first final girl, Sydney. I know what you're thinking. What can they possibly do to keep this franchise going? Resort to nostalgia, of course. Get ready for a tall glass of memberberry juice with a shitload of callbacks, cameos, and over-the-top gory kills in Scream 7. Hello there, you loose units, and welcome back to another episode of Spicy Boy Reviews. I'm, of course, your host, Andrew Iles. That's right, the 7th installment of the Scream franchise, directed here by original writer of Scream 1, 2, and 4, Kevin Williamson, who besides this film also directed Teaching Mrs. Tingle. We open the film on the expected meta-references that this franchise is infamous for. A young couple have booked the Airbnb experience of the Stab franchise. Stab is the Hollywood inverse version of what happened in the previous Scream movies. And this location just so happens to be Stuart Mocker's house from the original film. This couple creep around the shadows of the house, jump scare each other, and even receives a very threatening phone call from Ghostface himself, voice and all, which of course can only go well. After some generally tense scenes, Ghostface finally makes his appearance and deletes the shit out of the couple. And then he sets the house alight. Burn, baby, burn! In an attempt to destroy the commercialization of the kill site. In the 7th installment of a franchise, I might add. Anyway, we then jump over to see a Gen Z recreation of the Billy Loomis and Sidney Prescott bedroom scene from the first movie. And wouldn't you know it, this female character of Tatum just so happens to be Sidney Prescott's daughter. It seems that Tatum's boyfriend has snuck through her open window at night. But Sidney's having none of it! She barges in and says, "Hey, I've seen this before, but done better." And she kicks Tatum's boyfriend out of the house. This is when we get some subtle as a sledgehammer subtext that Sidney and Tatum constantly butt heads. I wonder if they'll learn to connect later on in the climax. Sidney is now finally settled down in Woodsboro 2.0 with her police chief husband. We then meet all of Tatum's disposable teens, group of friends. I honestly can't remember any of their names, but we all know what's probably going to happen to them anyway. But how does this new group compare to the previous two films' gang of friends? I can honestly say they are immensely less annoying. Anyway, it seems that Ghostface is back in town and picking off Tatum's friends one by one, while also taunting Sydney with threatening her daughter. However, has the killer revealed themselves too soon? As Sydney begins to receive FaceTime calls from a supposed deceased person from her past. Or is it just AI? It's hard to tell these days, including with fictional characters. Anyway, the shit begins to hit the fan, and then Gale Weathers makes a hell of an entrance. And then it's time for Gale and Sydney to team up for a little investigation adventure. All the while Tatum and co. play out a straight-up Scream slasher movie. This film is absolutely chock full to the brim of references to previous movies in the franchise. It's roughly 2 hours and 3 litres of memberberry juice. We get a buttload of dark humour that undercuts any tense scenes. And the movie has some of the most over-the-top, goriest kills I've ever seen in a Scream movie. I will say though, I'm sure you're like me and my wife, we picked the Ghostface killer pretty early on. And the motivation is, say what now? But up until that point, I was having a decent time. My cinema was absolutely packed when I went and saw it, and everyone gasped where they were meant to. They laughed out loud at the correct moments. And there were even round of applauses throughout the film, which honestly surprised me. The audience were a blend of both young and old. And it seemed everyone enjoyed their time in the cinema, including me. It all does make me wonder though, what were the original plans for this 7th film? Because rumour has it that the previous bland, annoying as hell characters from the last 2 films were all going to come back to wrap up their trilogy. However, as I'm sure you're aware, Melissa Barrera was fired due to her social media posts regarding the overseas conflict. And Jenna Ortega said, "Peace out, bitches," at the news of this. And as much as I hated the last two films and the cast of characters. I do not agree with cancel culture, especially from studios. I am in no way a political guy, and I don't not see a film because of an actor's political views. However, with the exit of Melissa and Jenna, Kevin Williamson and Guy Busick got together and reworked the entire plot. And I've got to say, it was probably a blessing in disguise. Because what we ended up getting was just a straight-up Scream movie that pays all of the homage to nostalgia. Which will piss some people off, and already has. But fuck me, if it wasn't all of the good times that was needed for me. And with installment number 7 of a franchise, I mean, what else are you going to do? I will say, however, though, that the characters of Mindy and Chad do return for reasons, and oddly enough are the most annoying members of the cast here. And we get a group of Gen Z all sorts as our core cast, so that's saying something. And I will say that I was pleasantly surprised with how much this film focused on the character of Sydney. This was no quick cameo. Neve Campbell is front row and centre for this movie, and it's without a doubt her film. And I've got to say, girl still got it. It was great to see her on the big screen again, and she delivers with everything that's expected of her. It's the same survival final girl Sydney, just a little bit older. Not sure of unpopular opinion or not, but I may go as far as to say that Sydney Prescott may be the greatest Scream Queen / final girl of all time. She always balances being a badass bitch without being insufferable, while also being vulnerable and affected by the horrific circumstances she's in. She's both empathetic and caring, while also not being a doormat or a victim of bullshit. I'm not surprised that Neve Campbell can tap into playing this character with ease at any given moment. She was perfectly cast at the time for the original film too. Coming off the success of Party of Five, the show, then a supporting role in The Craft, and then finally getting her starring role, being immortalised as Sydney Prescott. And it's the role she will easily be remembered for. Most actors can only dream of making such a pop cultural impact. Also, she has never stopped working in between Scream movies. However, Courtney Cox seems to be struggling to convey any expression these days. Grow old gracefully, people. Your acting career will thank you for it. Anyway, this film is silly, over the top, convoluted as hell. But that's exactly what Scream movies have become, for better or worse. Yes, they are now the Stab franchise. And in my humble opinion, the last decent film in the franchise was Part 4. Ever since then, it's just been trash. And people who are really wanting to see the last two films' cast of characters continue their story, I will say, tough titties. Look, they sucked anyway. Not that this film is pure cinema by any stretch of the imagination. And it is without doubt using cheap tactics to get bums on seats. But hey, it worked. But I saw nothing but people having a damn good time during the film and walking out with a smile on their face. But in saying all that, I will be seeing a Scream movie regardless when it comes out. Anyway, guys, that's my cheeky little review of Scream number 7. Write down below if you've seen it. What are your thoughts on it? But more importantly, besides the first one, what is your favourite installment in the franchise? And of course, if you've made it this far into the episode, please give me a thumbs up because your love and support keeps me going, because I just love movies and I assume you do as well. And of course, don't forget to hit that subscribe icon because I give out an episode weekly. And I'll see you back here next week for the next review, but until then, stay spooky, kids.